This is All of It. I'm Allison Stewart, live from the WNYC studios in Soho. Thank you for sharing part of your day with us. I'm really grateful that you're here. Coming up on the show today, a performative social media influencer is at the center of Our Hero Balthazar, which is playing at the Angelica Film Center this week. We'll speak with its stars and its director. Plus, the World Cup is officially underway in New York, and we'll talk about the best way to tour the city and the best way to eat your way through it, whether you're a visitor or a local. That is all coming your way. But first, let's get things started with the final season of The Bear. It feels like just yesterday, suddenly everyone was talking about this new show set in Chicago about the reality behind what happens in a restaurant kitchen. It was called The Bear, and "Yes, Chef" became the phrase of that summer. 4 years later, here we are. The final season of The Bear is about to premiere. The chefs inside The Bear are family, and a key member of that group is pastry chef Marcus Brooks, played by my next guest, Lionel Boyce. Marcus comes off as gentle, maybe a little shy, but it's clear Marcus has talent, even genius, when it comes to making original desserts. Marcus has gone through his own journey throughout the show, his memorable trip to Copenhagen and his grief over losing his mom. The Bear, well, it's won all the awards, Emmys, Golden Globes, and SAG Awards. The fifth and final season premieres on Hulu on June 25th. Joining me now is actor Lionel Boyce. Hey, Lionel.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing great. When did you first hear about The Bear?
I heard about it, was that maybe 2021, because we shot the pilot in 2021, so I think it was maybe February. I'm impressed with my memory. It was February 2021 that I got the pilot script, I read it, and I sent in an audition tape.
What interested you about your character, Marcus?
I think I immediately had an entry point where it felt like a person that I knew I understood. It was something about it. I first fell in love with the pace of the pilot, the way it was written. You can feel the tone. It was palpable. And I was like, wow, this is really cool.
It was hard for me to watch at first. I was like, I got enough stress in my life.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing. It had such a quick tempo with the script, but we didn't know how Story was thinking about it visually because obviously the pilot hadn't been shot. So it didn't have that intensity of the edit with the music and the sounds. Mm-hmm. So you're just reading like, wow, this feels quick. This is cool. And then I remember after we shot the pilot, maybe a couple of months later, they sent us the finished pilot. And you're like, wow, yeah, this is cool. It's very it just grabbed you. And you're just like, yeah, this is a lot. But I love roller coasters, so I'm with it. What
was a moment when you knew that it hit? When you realize this show is more than just a job you show up for?
I think the cool thing about the show, it was pretty instantaneous. The way we shoot it and it comes out, it's within almost the same quarter. Like we shot it in the winter and it came out in the summer, where it was just so immediate. And with season one, I remember memes started popping up, and you know that, okay, that it's like crossed a barrier, and it was watching a wildfire grow where you saw like one or two memes, and then the meme pages you follow start to post memes, and we're just sharing it in a group chat. You're like, wow, Jeremy's face is everywhere. And then within like 2 weeks, it's like everyone's watching the show, everyone's talking about it, and you're like, wow, I've never been a part of something, that's reached that critical mass and reached something that big that fast.
How was Marcus originally described to you?
Marcus was described as, I don't remember. I remember talking to Chris about it, and he mostly just talked about he's a pastry chef and where he wants him to go, which was season 4, where he's like, he's going to become one of the best pastry chefs in all of Illinois. And I remember that was cool. And we mostly just talked about just the his creativity and and we talked about like our love of pastries and my favorite donuts, desserts, and XYZ. It wasn't much about his personality. I think it was just like he's cool. He's a cool everyman kind of guy. And I think through the scripts, you just really got a sense of who he was more than it was the description up top.
We're talking about the final season of The Bear. It premieres on Hulu on June 25th. My guest is actor Lionel Boyce, who plays Marcus Brooks, the pastry chef of The Bear, the restaurant on this show. What does Marcus get out of cooking, out of baking?
I think he gets what most people get out of discovering their passion, where there's this it's a gratifying sense of, I think you're just in the right frequency. What you want to do is what you're doing. And it's not about it being easy or hard. It's just like validating that you're like, wow, I'm enjoying this and I can let this consume me and take over my day. I have the itch to, every day morning I wake up with this itch that I want to scratch, and this thing is scratching it. So I think he's just getting that euphoria that comes with being attuned to what what you feel you're meant to do.
What has been your understanding of how Marcus has evolved over the course of these 4 or 5 seasons?
That's good. I think my understanding of it is how your relationship to something you love evolves with the external forces of the inevitable changes that come with life. I think the point of life is to experience and understand temporary. So it's like, how do you hold on to something that you want to be permanent as everything is temporary around you?
How is that applied to you?
In
as
real
an
life?
actor? Yeah.
It's cool. I think I've felt that I've had this similar journey where it's like an understanding of, I felt like my career has coincided with Marcus's, where he's like discovering, I didn't grow up wanting to be an actor, to get into like writing any of these things. And discovering it did feel like it is a second one of life. You come from, came from playing sports similar to Marcus. And when I discovered it, I was like, I never cared about sports as much as I care about this. And I just want to figure out how do I do this for the rest of my life. And it's just about like the curiosity is on. It's just like following the curiosity in every way. And it's funny, Marcus kind of shows me different ways to apply it and how to like pull from the world and apply it to what you're making your output is. Just turn on this sensitivity. Well, I think he's very externally sensitive. And I'm like, okay, I should like do that. And even with this, it was cool because he starts off as a person who doesn't really know anything about baking, the pastry world. And so each season I had to learn more so that he knew more. So it was by me having to focus on that and expand, it was like, oh, wow, yeah, cool. I can apply this to my own career. And I was fortunate working with Courtney Storer, who's an incredible chef, and the culinary producer, Malcolm Livingston, who's...
They have a culinary producer?
Yeah, we have a culinary producer.
Love
Courtney
that.
Storer. Yeah. And Courtney Storer and Maddie were really instrumental, especially in the beginning, where we leaned on them a lot because they had so many stories, so many specifics where if you had any insecurity about like, how do I hold this or what's like the physicality of this, they're like, yeah, this, or they just give you a story. And it was just a way to keep us out of our heads and like focus on like the character and the story as opposed to like, can I do this? But it also helped us because it was just a place to train. And like, I want to work on specifically like understanding this, how do you do this cutting or XYZ. But I say I worked with Courtney throughout every season. And then season 3, I believe, 3 or 4, worked with Malcolm Livingston, who's this incredible pastry chef who I feel is like a guru of creativity in this way where it was so many isms about like life and approach to creative practice where I think before meeting him, I understood baking as science. And it's just that everything is precise. And he took science and turned it into magic to me, where he's just all creative and creative expression. It's a place where he's like, he's a heart in a steel cage. And I'm like, that's so cool. And it was, so I got so many things from him, just from like the times of talking to him and just as he's teaching me how to do these simple things, I'm like, wow, like this relates to actually what I'm working on outside of this.
It's interesting with the culinary producer and all of these experts you talked to and helped you learn the craft of baking. What is something that you didn't know that now you know about baking? Like holding a whisk or about egg yolks, something that just sort of blew your mind.
I think it's so much of it's like it's similar. I came from a sports background, and a lot of sports is about the physicality, like putting yourself in the right position. And it's funny you say holding a whisk because that was something Courtney would say to me a lot, where it's like, it's the way you hold the whisk. I would like hold it delicately, and from the edge, she's like, no, just get in there, like get your body close in the position. And it's just like, and you go for it. And I was like, this is cool because it's also learning to do something new as an adult. You can kind of observe your own creative process in a different kind of way, where I'm just like, oh, that is funny. Whenever I'm like trepidatious about something, I am much more like, weary. Some people can like blaze through the door, and I'm just like delicate and like kind of poking and circling the surface. And they're like, no, just punch through the door.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, that's like it's a different form of like reminding yourself to take a different kind of ownership into the things you're doing.
We're talking about the final season of The Bear. It premieres on Hulu on June 25th. My guest is actor Lionel Boyce, who plays Marcus Brooks, the pastry chef of The Bear, the restaurant on the show. This is a nice text we got from somebody. It says, I love Lionel Boyce. Marcus is my favorite character on The Bear, entirely due to his touching portrayal. His performance has brought me to tears more than once.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. That makes me feel so great because that's what I think. Everything we do, we hope it connects. And getting a text like that, for a second, I was worried it was a text from someone I knew, and I didn't know what they were going to say. But that's much better.
It's interesting because Marcus does have to deal with grief on this show, the loss of his mom. What does that mean for your character in this show?
I think it means a lot of things because I think season 1 was he's carrying this thing internally that we have no idea of. We're just seeing an explosion happen in this thing that he'd been feeling disconnected. It's like it was a cog that caught a wheel where he's like, oh, I have an outlet for these things that I've been taking care of my mom's in this debilitating state. And every day he's leaving the restaurant, he's going home to take care of her. And she's reached a point where she's nonverbal anymore. In season 2, you really see that relationship and you see what it means for him, the fear of taking up space for himself. He'd become comfortable being the one where he forewent any of his dreams, any of these things for stability. I think he is very much like the glue in a way in the kitchen, but it's just because of like he's okay with like letting his feelings take the backseat in the back burner. And so I think the loss of his mother is like kind of having to confront on one hand these things that like one of your worst fears is like losing your parents is like everyone's thinking about it as our parents age. You're constantly hearing it, like hearing I remember thinking about the first time I heard my mom's voice change on the phone, where I was like, you can hear a little bit of the rasp like start to onset, and you're like, wow, like my parents are aging, that like all these things. So that's what you're constantly thinking about. And I think for him, so on one hand, he's faced this worst fear that everyone reaches. And then on the other hand, it's like all of this time that was allotted to her has come back to him. So it's about what do you do with it? And he has a place to focus it. So it's like taking up space for himself and allowing himself to, he has a goal, something to go for. And he understands what it takes by being around Carmi and Sid and Luca and these people who will kind of act as guiding forces and showing him what it is that he wants to achieve and how to get there. So I think it's a left and a right hand and learning how to use both.
In this episode, I think it was called The Donut. You come out and you show Carmi this donut you spent a lot of time working on, and he slaps it out of your hands, right? In that moment. First of all, did Marcus learn anything from that episode aside that Carmi can be a bit of a, you know what?
I think he did. I think it's funny because I remember that was the season 1. I remember it being like, I actually understand Carmi. Like, this is the worst day in the kitchen. And like, it's like 5 times. And I think I remember Io gave a great gift where when we were like rehearsing and stuff, she just like called him a space cadet. She's like, he's a space cadet today. And I was like, yeah, you're totally right. Like, and it is so much going on and he's just ignoring it. He's not paying attention and doing his job. And
he just wants to perfect this donut.
Yeah. And it's like, like 20 minutes later, you come back and I've said 4 times, like, hey, what's going on with your things? And you're like, in a minute. And you're like, hey, no, actually, I know this is a bad time, but look at this creation. So I think he learned 2 things in that moment where it's like he had this great breakthrough where he's like understood how to make this donut he'd been spending all season to make. And on the other hand, it's like you can't get caught up in your own world. Like you have to learn how to balance. I think that's kind of what has been his journey. Because even when you think about season 2, it's about balancing like this new love with his mother. And then season 3 is balancing the grief with the work. And then season 4 is like balancing like this loneliness that's come like with this void with connecting to the people around you and like choosing the family.
Lionel, when you heard that you had to go to Copenhagen for that specific episode, it was directed by Rami Youssef. who's a great guy.
Yeah.
And you had to, so Marcus has to go study underneath another chef in Copenhagen. It's culture shock in the best way. You're living on a boat. What was your reaction when you first read about that particular role?
It was both awesome and terrifying because it's like, no, they didn't say anything before, and you're reading the scripts. We're fortunate we get all the scripts at once, so I get to episode 4 and I'm reading it, and then it's just like, oh yeah, it starts in the kitchen, cool, and then it's like it focuses on Marcus, and it's like, oh, and it keeps going by page 16. I'm like, it's only been Marcus, okay,
it's only
okay,
Marcus.
And so you're like, this is cool, it's exciting because like this is also part of it. I love traveling. You're like, oh, we get to go to Copenhagen to like shoot this episode, and then you're like, oh yeah, it's only me, and it's only I didn't know Will Poulter at the time, but I'm just like, this is a person who, as a fan, I've been a fan of, and I just know he's a great actor and stuff. So I'm like, you're just like wrestling with all the natural doubt, insecurities that come with that, where you're like, well, I don't know, I haven't done anything like this. This is rise to the occasion. I don't want to be the one to let the show down by not like executing and delivering on my behalf. So I became worried about it, but it was very exciting at the same time because I was like, wow, like I think everyone's trust in me to believe that I could do that is like I was very appreciative and warmed by.
I loved watching you and Will Poulter in that scene because you're not necessarily facing each other. You're facing outward and you're having this deep conversation and you're working at the same time, but you're not really looking at each other. It was really interesting.
Someone told me a funny thing where they said the way that men express emotions is side by side, not looking at each other, looking out at something. And I'm like, it's totally true. I think about all the time where I make a new friend and we're like doing an activity and it's like mumbling words and then eventually it's a cog that catches a wheel. So yeah.
Did you find that Marcus, when you played Marcus, does he come back as a different person after that trip?
100%. I think that's it's the first time he never left Chicago. He'd never been on his own. It's like kind of it's not necessarily an ego death. It's just like, I think the walls of the ego like fall down and you're like, oh, I didn't know I can expand. It's like where he assumed the walls were, he's like reaching like, oh, it's like further away. So he's like, it's possibilities are open. He's like, there's a person I could be that I never considered before.
Oh, we're getting some texts already. This says, Marcus is my favorite character on The Bear, too. This one says, love The Bear. It has everything. Can't wait to see the final season, but wish that it wasn't the last. When I'm preparing dinner, I still yell hands. Then my husband knows it's time to grab the plate. This text says, how has working on The Bear made you a better home cook or baker? Or did you start doing it when you started the show?
I started doing it when I started the show. I think what everyone's upset about me is that I don't bring it home still, because I'm very much, I have like friends who like love to cook more than me, and I'm always just like, I'll come over. But I had like moved into a new place recently, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna start cooking a little bit more. But I think it's added some confidence in like being at home and being able to do it, where I won't feel, before I would have assumed like I wouldn't have done it because I was like, it's only going to be disappointment, where I feel like I could do a little bit.
This text is interesting. It says, Lionel is giving us deep representation of culture in a way we haven't seen before. And the episode with Io, I think, directed, which featured her and Lionel's stories, really felt like a love letter to Black, but to all BIPOC families. I could watch it on repeat forever. Oh,
that's cool. That's so cool. Cause, that was last season. Me and Io wrote. It was Sid's day off, and Janixa directed it. And it's cool because that was what we were hoping for. It was just like, there's so many other parts of Chicago, and it's just cool to like, what is Sid's home life? Who is the people outside of the kitchen other than the people we've seen? And it's just being. It's just about just being.
Can I ask you a question? You have a Falling Water shirt on, Frank Lloyd Wright?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm curious about your shirt.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I like architecture a lot.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I love, my favorite house is the Ennis house, but I've never been to Falling Water house. I did go to, when I was in Chicago, I went to tour the Frank Lloyd Wright house. I think the first one he lived in, and he get to tour, and it was cool seeing a lot of the ideas that he had that he expanded into a full house. You're seeing like the beginning and the birth of these ideas where he's trying out different parts of this house. It's disjointed in this beautiful way that you're seeing. He's like, okay, this could be like you're seeing a little bit of Mayan revival that turns into like the Hollyhock House or the Ennis House or whatever. And I think the original version of the Falling Water House is around the corner from his house. It's a smaller version of it. So yeah, I feel it's a similar thing to learning about baking. I like to read some architecture books, and they like relate much more to life and creativity than anything else.
Have you ever been on the architecture tour in Chicago?
No, it's the one thing I didn't do because we go in the dead of winter.
Oh, no!
And the days that it's nice, I'm like either shooting or I just forget to go.
You got to do it. It's such a great tour.
I know. That's what everyone who's done it says. Everyone's done it but me, but I think I'm going to just have to go back to Chicago and do it.
You need to do it. My guest is Lionel Boyce. He plays Marcus Brooks, the pastry chef on The Bear. The show is about to enter its final season. What are you thinking about as the show enters its final season? What went through your mind as you were shooting? Like, this is the last time we'll do this.
Yeah, I think that was exactly. I tried to always be aware of the present and what's happening, and I just kept thinking about it. Just makes you realize how much time has passed more than anything. Where I was like, wow, we shot the pilot 5 years ago. This is I didn't go to like a college. I didn't go to 4 years. I went to a community college for a year and a half, and then I stopped to and I found this track, which has led me to the show. So I never really experienced that feeling of graduating high school except for graduating high school. And so this industry is very much built around like kind of everyone's freelance. So it's like you finish a job and it's free fall till you find the next one. And with that comes the understanding of nothing will ever feel exactly like the previous thing. Good, bad, or whatever, they're all singular feelings. And even if it's parallel, some might be more successful than others. You'll never replicate what this was. And I understand that, and it'll constantly redefine itself throughout my career, but I've just been trying to be very present, just like I'll absorb it all so that I can at least have it in my memory and I can recall as much as possible.
And by the way, you were very hilarious in Project Hail Mary.
Oh, thanks.
That was really, really a funny role.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, that was a lot of fun too. That was another. I've been big fans of Chris and Phil and Ryan and Sandra, everyone in that movie, and it was like a gift to be able to just see how they work and hang out with them, and they're all great humans. It was another set where I came as a visitor, and it was just warm and open, and I feel like I've made a little bit of family there too.
The final season of The Bear premieres on Hulu on June 25th. My guest has been actor Lionel Boyce, who plays Marcus Brooks. Thanks for coming to the studio. We really appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is awesome.